go ahead, take a deep breath, pull it in, hold, and let it out. You're here today to develop and strengthen your mindset because you know that weekly training sessions in mindfulness is the missing link the world is searching for when it comes to business success. So set aside the external logistical side of business growth and come with me now to a world of focus, purpose, calm, confidence, and personal power using NLP and CBT tools and techniques. I am your host, Leah Marie, and you're listening to Flip the Switch. Hey there, you guys. I am so excited to be able to have this episode with Meredith Walsh, where we get to jump into her story about how her contribution ends up being mirrored in her bank account, in her money, and how that money mirrors contribution really plays out inside of this episode, and you get to see it firsthand and hear the story through her eyes and her experience of how she started out with contributing and having her entire mindset around serving other people in a nonprofit way, and how it ended up flipping completely into a business. And so I'm so excited to be able to jump into this story, you guys, and I think that you are going to have a lot of fun learning about some of the pieces of her story and how they may mirror in your life. So let's go ahead and get started. Hey, you guys, I'm so excited to welcome my podcast guest today. On the call, we are working with Meredith Walsh, and I am so excited to have Meredith on the show. So a little bit of background here, you guys. Meredith is a person who supports female entrepreneurs to tap into their intuition, to shift their mindset into confidence and prosperity so that they can triple their income without the stress or the overwhelm. And I love this because the way that she does it is all a holistic approach to business. We've often heard about holistic approach to health, and she uses a holistic approach to business. So welcome, Meredith. So excited to have you on the show.
I'm so excited to be here. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Absolutely. So let's get started by getting into some of the juicy stuff and talking about, I always like to start with a story because I feel like a lot of people can relate to stories. So maybe you could give us a little bit of a background story on kind of how you chose your career path.
Well, it
choose you?
Yeah, it chose me. It chose me. I have a master's in international communications and world politics, and I was living in Australia when I came back, and I began consulting for the World Bank in online communications. And the World Bank is the world's largest international development organization. And I basically, I really didn't fit into the corporate world, and I knew that I had to be an entrepreneur and create my own business just for freedom purposes, and just I couldn't just do one job. I wanted to really do everything. And it really started with in my backyard after I did a teacher training with the Africa Yoga Project, and I did my 200-hour yoga teacher training. I then went down to a village school in Tanzania and brought yoga mats and taught yoga there. And I got really inspired by this villager who had a dream to have a school in his village. And so he accomplished that dream. He met someone that donated, and they built a school literally in his backyard. So I came back to my village in Bluemont, Virginia, which is around 70 miles outside of Washington, D.C. And I started a fundraiser for that school. And it was at the time my parents were about to sell our farm, and we had a 16-acre farm. And so I hosted it there, and I got 10 local bands, artists, and yoga teachers, and we did this big fundraiser for the school. And that built a community, and 7 years later, we're now the Mid-Atlantic's first Universal Healing Arts Festival, and we've scaled it into 3 different states. And people just kept showing up because they wanted that. And it really wasn't something that I had planned to do or be a festival producer. It just happened because the audience showed up and needed it. And it was something that people really got a lot of healing out of, and were able to, I saw people come to this festival and then completely be transformed in 3 days and go off, you know, if they were in a corporate job and they weren't happy, they would go off and become an entrepreneur. And so then I really figured out, okay, I want to help entrepreneurs, like, you know, take it from this, because I dealt with a lot of artists, and they have the, oh, well, I'm an artist, I'm going to be poor, you know, starving artist mentality. And I, coming from the world politics background and, you know, working for the largest international institution, I wanted to empower the people on the ground to be like, no, actually, that doesn't have to be your reality. You can make money, and here are the steps. And that's where Mind Your Intuition coaching got inspired by, developed for, to help really the people that were already coming into my community to be able to really see themselves as business owners making money. And letting go of that fear of asking and charging for money, and getting over the fear of going out on your own and being confident enough to do that. So when I coach a lot about mindset and confidence, because it first really starts in the mind, and you have to believe in yourself to be able to take the consistent action to really shape it into your reality, make it your reality. So it started in my backyard.
That is the coolest story. I love that. Okay, so this is a question that I have. Have this like turn into a festival that continues to move forward. Does it feed itself? Like, because you have two kind of businesses in that sense. And one is creating this space and this environment for people to come and to have this healing experience, but also to be able to move forward with big decisions in their life with confidence and stuff like that, it sounds like. So tell me, like, do the two businesses feed each other? Like, do you get clients from that event that then work with you later?
Yes. So it's pretty an ideal situation, because I get to grow both businesses at the same time, and they're in alignment with each other. And right now, you know, it is definitely difficult to grow two things at once, because it's like having almost two babies at once. And they're, you know, so Flow Jam, I really spent a lot of time last year developing it and, you know, expanding a team to help develop it. And because we're on a little bit of a hiatus right now, I'm now going into Mind Your Intuition. But I've noticed that the people that, especially now, who can't go out and perform or go as vendors, if they're artists or if they're healers or, you know, creative entrepreneurs, they're looking to now establish themselves online, which is what I'm an expertise in. And so, yes, actually, I got a client from Mind Your Intuition that was really I saw her at my festival, and I was like, this is what I'm going to create something. And I kept her in mind as my client avatar. And she's now my client. And we're working through some big shifts of her just really believing that she can be an entrepreneur. And slowly but surely, when she sees that logo, when she sees that website, when she creates her offers, you know, she knows that she's powerful and has everything inside of her to do this. But sometimes, like, your mind really plays a lot of games with you. So so yes, they feed into each other. And I'm working diligently on creating more opportunities for the artists who are on hiatus to feed into selling their offers online.
Yeah. Okay. So I love this, because I think there's a lot of people out there, especially inside of the entrepreneur world, where we're very creative people. And so we get kind of sometimes caught up in having multiple passions, and like, you know, we joke about it, but like really a lot of us are the multi-passionate entrepreneur who really like, figuring out who your niche is and who your avatar is, like, painful, because you're like, but I want to help everybody, and but I you know, I'm leaving this person out, and but I love that group, and I also, you know, this one speaks to me, and we get pulled in so many different directions. And I love how you've been able to take two separate pieces of your life and have them create that flow where one feeds the other, and so I think that's awesome. That's really cool. Tell me, what has been the most important part? Okay, and just for time frame for the rest of you guys, when she was talking about the festival being on hiatus and people not being able to create the way that they normally would, the time of this recording, we are dealing with the COVID-19, and so we are all in lockdown around the world in different states of lockdown, just so that when this airs, you understand where we're coming from that. So Meredith, tell me, what was the most important part of that journey for you to date?
I will say, I guess, okay, I hope this answers your question, but it's a constant, I think about it a lot of how I got here and how this all happened, because it's quite interesting to be one person that developed a festival in her backyard. And I constantly, how did this happen? And how is it so easy for me to do this? And so it was my 5th year producing the festival. And I'll be honest with you, like I said, I didn't start this festival as a business. It started as a fundraiser, and it grew because the community came and wanted it to happen, and they kept showing up. And so I just kept doing it. And so when it couldn't be in my backyard anymore, because I hosted it on my farm for 4 years, and then I had to find a new space because we were outgrowing our 16-acre space. And I really didn't know that anything was I didn't know if it was possible for me to take it off of my own property. I didn't really know what this was. It was still an extension off of another business I first started called Wind Down Yoga, where I was teaching yoga at wineries. And so I put an intention. I set an intention where I was like, okay, if this is meant to be, it'll be. And here's what I'm looking for in my mind. I wanted to be in the same area because I wanted to serve the same community, Loudoun County, Virginia. And I wanted it to still be on a farm. I wanted it to have a similar feel. And all these things I didn't know actually existed. And I didn't know if I could actually find a landowner that would be able to see my vision and allow me to really host something that I have really no resources at that point, like no upfront money to produce this thing. So I had to really negotiate and find someone, and I set a timeline for it. And I said it was February 15th. And if anyone knows how, like if there are event producers out there, I mean, it takes a long time to produce just a 1-day event, let alone a 3-day festival. So 3 months, I gave myself 3 months. Like if I don't find this property, I'm not going to do it. And the property appeared. I met someone, and it was exactly like my farm, except 100 times bigger. And then I was like, okay, I guess this is happening. And then I put the tickets up for sale. I didn't even have a website. Like I said, it was an extension off of my other brand. So it was just a page on a website. I didn't really have a logo. I was just like, okay, guys, like, here we go. I found a property. I hope, I'm putting this out there. And when you have something that's going to cost you at least like 10 grand and you don't have that 10 grand, it's scary to say, okay, this is happening. And so I really set an intention of, I'm okay with losing money. So I was like, all right, I'm okay with losing $2,000. Cause I think also a lot of entrepreneurs get stuck in like, oh, I don't want to lose money. And it's like, okay, well, maybe you lost money that year or that month, but how are we going to get it back? So I set intention, for the property and for the space. And so we went with it. And 3 months later, I sold my first ticket for $120. And then I spread that to, do marketing, grassroots marketing. So I didn't pay for any advertising or anything, but I created a flyer and just got people to promote it. And on that weekend, and I don't know how we pulled it off, because it was just, we had to develop this property, and just the fact of like organizing 60 people and all of this stuff, it was a lot. So I was on stage, I created a stage, and I did an entrepreneurial talk with a panel of people. And one of the questions that was brought to me at that time was, just how this all developed and how it happened. And I just constantly remember that moment where it like all of a sudden clicked. Like it was like, oh, okay, this is how we're going to do it. And this is how we're going to expand it. And this is how we're going to make money. And I didn't know all of the hows. And and I still don't, but like, I just took the chance. I stepped out of my fear. I stepped out of the attachment of the outcome, out of the attachment of money. And I was confident that the people would show up and buy tickets. And the thing with events, people don't buy tickets literally until the last week. And you're like, guys, so if you don't have upfront money, it's very difficult. So you're taking a lot of risks. And it just paid off. And then the next year we doubled, and this year we were set to triple, and now we're like expanding into 2 different states. It's really quite magical. And that was why I said to your question in the beginning, it was not something I chose. It was something that really found me and was like part of a flow state for me, where it was easy and people come to me instead of me searching out to how to find people. And just the hows kind of come in little bits and pieces. So I always remember that talk where, we were just talking about like how we developed our business. And it was just like that click of like me being on a stage that was really created by me, and being like, well, we can create anything. If I can create this, anyone can really do anything. It's just all in the mind.
So like, I love this. Okay. So there's so many juicy pieces that we could pull out of what you just said.
Ridiculous story.
No, that's okay. That's okay. I'm good at this part. So the thing that's like standing out the most to me in that piece that you said that sounds like it's the most important part is the part where you saw a vision of something you could create, and you didn't have all of the strategic placements or the people even, or all of the how of how it was all going to happen. You didn't have any of that.
None of it.
You had the vision for it. And I think the most important piece of this entire piece is that you had the ability to move forward with holding that vision in your mind and saying, if it's meant to be, it's meant to be, right? If it flops, it's not a reflection of me. It's the business. It is what happened. It wasn't meant to be, whatever. Right. So you detach yourself on the meaning side of it, which is cool. But I think that the most important piece inside of that journey is the fact that you moved forward without knowing how it was going to end up.
Yes.
And so
that's the most important.
It like set a precedence for being able to kind of like just move forward in faith of what you feel is, what the people are asking for, what like what your audience is saying, like, we want to have an event like this. And you're like, okay, there's a desire out there for this. I desire this. They desire this. I'm going to put a timeline in place and see if we can make this happen. So it's not like you like just threw it to the wind. You still put some pieces in place so that you could have checkpoints.
Yes.
So that you could be like, I'm not going to do this like without, I guess I'm just trying to think of the exact word. But you created, I guess, like safety nets along the way for your faith, right? So it's like, I'm going to set a date 3 months in advance. If this happens by that date, we'll keep going. If this next thing happens, then we'll keep going. If this next thing happens, then we'll keep going. So you had set up pieces to have a check-in so that you wouldn't go beyond your bounds or like stretch yourself too thin, but you kept it in a place of a comfort zone of safety, because at least you knew, okay, we're just going to the next step and then we'll see where we go. But you also were outside your comfort zone saying this is still taking faith. So I think, when I wrap all of that together, it really comes down to being able to move forward without having all the answers.
Exactly. Yes. I'm glad you got that out of that story. That was my main hope for that story takeaway. Yes, it was. And I see and now coaching and going into Mind Your Intuition, my coaching business didn't take off right away either, and that moment in time was like 5 years into this festival. So it was going off of blind faith and just assurance that, okay, I have a good, a ticket is like a product. So I have a good product. People want to buy it. So I guess I'm going to invest my time and money in this, and hopefully, it succeeds. And so you have that intention for it succeeding, and you have that belief, but you really don't know how it's all going to come together until you actually see it come together. And you're like, oh, okay, this is how it's going to work.
Yeah. And that's something that all entrepreneurs need to be able to walk that line at some point. It's like a balance beam pole that at some point they're going to have to walk on the balance beam over the river and just have the faith that, you know what, I have the vision of this and I don't have all the answers and I'm not the expert that I one day will be. And yes, there are other people that have, things that already work and stuff like that. But I'm unique. I have a different way of doing it. And I think that my way of doing it might help a different audience and help people differently. And so I see it. And I truly 100% believe that if we can see something and we can envision something, we can believe something, that means we can accomplish it. Like, we're not given the ability to envision something in a way to mock us, right? Like, I feel like that's that we're given something as a gift to say, this is a possibility for you in your life. So if you can envision it, you better believe that with the right pieces to the puzzle put together, it's definitely 100% doable for you.
Yes. Yes.
Right? Like, for me, like, I have no desire whatsoever to be an astronaut. Right? So for me, it's not like a believable thing of, hey, I'm going to go and become this astronaut. Yes, like, it's probably humanly possible to learn all of the steps and everything like that. But there's no vision for me saying I can do this. Right. But I think that all of us know that we have certain gifts and talents that we're given. And inside those gifts and talents, we have desires that come up that open up like kind of a vision of possibilities. And whatever those visions of possibilities are, it's given to you as a gift to be able to say, this is possible because I know what your gifts and your talents and your abilities are as a human being. Right. So.
Yes. So everyone has this inside them, their own intuition that we sometimes get. I look at children and they're so innocent and they play and they're like really pure, and that's like who we really are deep down. We never really grow up, and so we, this imagination that we have of what kind of life. If we're not already living the life that we want, we can create that lifestyle, and it's possible for anyone. So yes.
Now, going along with what you just said about how we never really grow up, it's interesting because I feel like, and tell me if you have recognized this with entrepreneurs that you've worked with as well, but I feel like that what happens is that it's kind of like those dreams and those goals start to become, like, they go from a vision of something that's colorful and doable and exciting to something that's black and white and gray and like a faint memory of, hey, this is something I wanted to do one day. And so it's kind of like we remember that it was there, and it's kind of like that would have been cool type of a thought process. As we get older and we start to let limiting beliefs come in, and that whole idea of imposter syndrome and all of those other things come in that little children don't have, right? And come into our life and block out, like, take the color from the dream and kind of sap that out of it. So that's kind of an interesting thought process, I think, too.
Yes, I really promote doing inner child work. It's like I had to heal the inner child in me to be able to produce that festival. Coming back to my own hometown, and I think maybe when I was talking about that that talk that I was doing in my my own festival on the panel, I like got this download of information, remembering what I really wanted as a child and how I was able to really create this and why this was easy for me. And it was really I just wanted to have like a safe space to play. I never felt safe in my own home. I never felt like I had a community because I was very lonely, and I was always looking for brothers to play with. I had a sister, but I wanted older brothers. And so developing this festival, like I develop it with, who I call brothers. They are local. They like grew up next door to me. They're fantastic musicians and artists. And it really is. I had to heal that inner child inside of me. And I see a lot of entrepreneurs who come into my door or who work with me on the festival, that is the work, healing that inner child so that you can strip away all of the limiting beliefs that society has placed on you, because our society is really, really loves to scare and put fear and put lack into you and competition versus collaboration. So yeah, I think that work is really important to do, and that's part of the mindset work.
Well, and I agree with you. And I think, like I've seen that with a lot of my clients as well. Now, one thing that's interesting too is that I feel like as we get older is we lose sight of what our goals and our dreams were, and we take on new goals and beliefs and thoughts that other people's are, right? So it becomes something that's not even truly our own, and we have to remember like what our real definition for success is, not what somebody else's definition for success is. So that's kind of interesting. So I want to jump into the next question. So being able to go on this growth journey of being able to like basically create your business in your backyard by accident, and now being able to have these two businesses that flow together, and you work with entrepreneurs and you help them create the successes. Tell me a little bit about where was a time where you came up against a wall and you had to shift your mindset in order to reach the next level?
So I'll use an example with my coaching business. I went through a process to develop this business, and I was following successful entrepreneurs who followed this system to get clients consistently, and they had really great results. And I followed that same system and I was not getting the same results. And part of that was my mentality of like, oh my gosh, is this going to work? And am I going to get clients this way? And at that time I was running Facebook ads. So it was a big, not huge ad spend, but it was money that out of my pocket continuously that I wasn't seeing an ROI with. And so it was like getting me I felt very backed up in a corner where I had like, no more money and no clients to alleviate what I had just spent. So I had to dig even deeper and get more help, different help that gave me a better strategy for me and my business. And that is what really organically grew my coaching business. And then it also helped me open my own mindset as to what was possible for me in that business. So, because it's yes, it feeds into each other, but it is a whole different animal, and online systems and everything like that. So I think, just really digging deeper into my why. Why am I doing this? Why am I like spending all this money? And why am I, I really had to tap into everything and go even deeper of what I thought I could stretch myself even beyond that point, because I believed in it so much. And I believed in my own success and my ability to create opportunity and to create a successful business doing this. And I knew I wanted to help others get over these, because it's really in the mind. A lot of it's in the mind. Yes, you're watching your actual money flow out of your bank account. But, just using different tools and getting different help and just not giving up, always coming back to the why. Why am I doing this? And what would be the other alternative if I weren't doing this? And would I be happy doing that? So.
So for those of you that are watching this on the video and you heard my printer go off and my eyes all of a sudden get big, that's because I didn't push any buttons on my computer. And I'm like, why is my printer going off? Like literally my husband's outside mowing, so you guys can probably hear that. We're dealing with COVID, so we've got all the kids home and stuff like that. And as my printer's going off, and my mic's pretty good, so it'll definitely pick up all of these sounds behind Meredith's chat. My teenage son walks in and goes over to the printer and grabs something. So that is what just happened inside of those last few moments here. So
of your headquarters.
I apologize. You guys, but I think at the same time, like, isn't that real life? Like complete unexpected things, everything's going according to plan, and then all of a sudden the lawnmower goes past the window, the printer goes off, the kid walks in, like all of those things while you're having an interview. So, but I feel like that happens in business. right?
Oh, yeah.
And
And that's one of the things to get over, and there's nothing perfect about anything. I was doing a masterclass yesterday, a live masterclass, and my whole presentation just like disappeared all at once in the middle of it. And I was like, okay, hold on 1 second. Let me find where my PowerPoint just went. But yes.
yeah. So I feel like though that it's moments like that where we can define, and I love the power of choice because we can define what we let that mean, right? Like when everything dropped on your PowerPoint presentation in the masterclass you're doing, you could let that define like, oh my goodness, I'm never doing another masterclass again. All of these people are going to think I'm unprofessional. All the people are going to think, and you make up all of these things of what you think everything is, and you attach a meaning to it, and it takes you somewhere else on your journey. Or you can be like, laugh at it and be like, I can't believe that just happened. That's ridiculous. Right. And be like, that is its own thing. Like that has nothing to do with me. That's just part of life. And
I choose laughter.
Sorry?
I choose laughter a lot. I laugh at a lot of things that happen.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, like, where you had that experience where you came up against the wall and you needed to make a mindset shift to be able to reach the next level, right? Mm-hmm. These opportunities come to us, they can come to us on a daily basis. They can come to us on a weekly basis, and it's part of being an entrepreneur. It's part of the life of an entrepreneur. And I feel like it's part of the life of a parent, and it's part of the life of, just anyone and everyone. We have these opportunities for growth. And if we take these opportunities and instead of being frustrated or upset or scared, we choose an emotion to say, okay, these types of struggles, these types of things come to everybody, but how I respond to it, that's what's going to make the difference in the outcome where I go from here, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yes.
Cool.
Yeah. And the more you get into it, the more resiliency you have to pivot faster or shift faster. You don't get caught in the overwhelm or the self-sabotage. Because I still have thoughts that come in, oh, that was a failure. But then, the success rate of like what actually happened, is different than what's in my head sometimes. And then I just get over it real quickly,
Yeah, I love that. Okay, awesome. So what do you think people don't understand or get about being a successful entrepreneur? Like newbies that come into this and they have this vision of what they think it takes to be an entrepreneur. From your experience, what do you think they maybe are missing that would be helpful if they understood from the get-go?
I love this question because I'm working with a lot of newbie entrepreneurs right now. And I think that they don't get how long sometimes it can take. It can be really fast, or it can be, depending on what's going on, what the foundation you have that you're working on. But the thing that I hear most people say, and I said this in the beginning too, is that showing up consistently is going to be the backbone of your business. And so you may not always want to feel like showing up. You may not always feel like you have something to give or offer. But your audience will see you. And on average, it takes, 7 different, if you're looking at a marketing perspective, it takes 7 different times for someone to see what you're doing, to actually take action. And of course, there's a whole, I think we were talking about earlier, maybe even before we got on, the whole like niching down and wanting to work with everyone. That's also a thing where I had to learn myself, because as a festival producer, it's kind of, you're attracting a lot of different people. And so it was different for me to get into the coaching world to be, okay, I'm working with these specific people because I know I can help these specific people. And I'm not trying to bring in everyone because that would overwhelm me. And that would, I can't give everyone results. You have to be this certain person to get the results from what I'm doing. So I think people have to really figure that out too, is like, there's 2 things. It's like niching down on exactly who you want to be serving, and the consistency of showing up and speaking to your audience so they can hear you and feel you and get to know you, get to trust you. And then they get to know what you have to offer. So I know that one of my clients I'm working with right now, she's like, oh, I didn't realize entrepreneurship was such a soul journey. Like the growth that I've had to go through in the past 2 months just to even get to this place is phenomenal. I mean, you really are on this like journey of self-development, and it's really, the more you work on yourself too, the better your business is going to be, because you're the foundation, and your mindset, your health, everything matters. So that's what matters most.
Thank you. I think that when I listen to what you're saying there, there was one thing that you mentioned that kind of just stuck out to me that you were saying, and now it slipped my mind for a second. Let me just think. But it was around the expectations that they come in with, right? And talking about how they don't realize, like, they think that it's going to be simpler or faster, because essentially, like, their only way of knowing is they go online and they see all of these like overnight success stories and all of these things, and they don't see all of the blood, sweat and tears and everything else that actually went in behind the overnight success. Like, that was just the tipping point, but there was tons of stuff that led up to it, right? And so I think that it sounds to me like that's where you're going with this, is like unmet or unrealistic expectations on what that is. Secondly, though, something else that you pointed out that I love is you touched on like recognizing, you talked about like knowing your niche, knowing how much you want to contact them and how you want to contact them. And to me, that all comes down to knowing your limitations and your boundaries of what you can give, and then creating your business around that so you don't have burnout as well, right? So you're able to set boundaries that feed you, but it also allows you to support your people more powerfully. And so recognizing early on what those boundaries are, so that you can create a business that fits inside those boundaries, rather than going to the point of exhaustion and overwhelm and burnout and then saying, oh, now I need to create boundaries. So that's something else that I'm pulling out of what you're saying there.
Yes, that is pretty much on the nose. Create a business that serves you, first of all. So making sure that you know what you want, and then building it.
And knowing what you don't want, because I think a lot of people, they start with their why and they're like, I want this, and this is why I want it, and it's like this massive thing, and it's like, okay, first of all, like, is that level of success your definition of success? How much is that going to take? Like, what's the cost to create that? Is there any collateral damage? Are you willing to deal with the collateral damage? Like, all of the other pieces that people don't consider when they're starting out in a business. And sometimes they don't realize that until they're in that burnout stage. And then they're just kind of like, oh gosh, this is, and then it's heart-wrenching, because now they've put so much time and energy and of themselves into it, that then they feel in this other place of being stuck or lost. And that's generally when you and I come in, right?
Yes.
So, all right. Let's just talk about, for 1 second, one thing that that you think that if you implemented right now would take you to the next level.
Wow.
Because we're always growing, right? And we're always like realizing new things and being like, oh, hey, if I did this, I think it would probably make a difference. So I'm curious, because I love for new entrepreneurs to recognize that, like, you never get over that, right? Like, you never come to a place where there's no longer any like limitations or limiting beliefs or struggles. Like, life just changes with each phase that you go through, and each growth pattern you go through, different and new things come up and arise. So I think that it's important that we look at that and we bring that forward.
For sure. And that's what I love about entrepreneurship. It's just a constant growth process. You're not stuck in any one place. You have the capability of changing anything and growing. So I would say my next step that I'm currently doing and implementing is I'm doing a couple things. I myself am working with someone who is specifically, a manifestation coach. I've had a lot of strategy and just my background and knowledge in online and doing all that stuff. So I've got like that foundation, but I want to grow my own ability to unlock different blocks that I have about money or about making more of it. And because I believe money is, this is why I love working with women, because we are more prone to have doubt about reaching these levels of success or calling in that money, because, we just like, I don't know, there's a lot of guilt kind of tied around money, I feel like, with women a lot of the time. So I don't have that guilt. I love money. I think it's like energy. It comes easy into my life. And I have big dreams. I have big goals. And so I'm just taking this time, especially now because we're in this lockdown and COVID, to really hone in on my business so that I can have the things that I see for myself actually happen. So I'm working with a coach that specifically is working, helping me with manifestation, with mindset. I'm also working with a specific sales coach too, to help me just get better at my sales techniques, because I think that's always going to be something that you can refine and hone on. And I want to build out these different levels in my business that actually I just haven't had time to focus on, because I've always for the past 7 years been producing a festival, which just takes so much to produce. And now that I have this empty space. And so I'm hiring help, and I'm going out there and getting better and honing my craft, and just because I want to serve on a bigger scale, and I want to serve people and help them, get over these blocks. And so the higher I can go, and that doesn't necessarily mean making more money, but just working
on all levels.
Yeah, all levels, health, just time management, sales strategy, all of these things that you're continually honing your craft. And so I'm hiring help and implementing that, and really kind of starting a new year on May 4th. I have a new program launching. I'm getting people through another group training that was the first time I launched. And so it's really, really cool to see some people going through your program and getting results and loving what you're doing and just wanting to do more of it. Like, I love what I'm doing. I want to be able to continue and grow and expand and scale. And I will be the first one to admit that I need help doing that. So,
sorry, I love many things that you said about that. So number one, I love that you're saying, I still, even at the growth that I've had, I still will have a block that'll come up, right? So for example, like, it's like the person who has never made 6 figures once, right? And they're like, to make 6 figures once in a year would be mind blowing from another. Like, that's my first goal. Like, that's a big thing for me to be able to do that. And then they make it and they're like, oh my goodness, if I was to make like, the next level, whatever, like, say that we're going to go from 6 figures, we're going to go to 7 figures, right? Like, wow, like, I can't even imagine, right? And so with each level, whether it's financial, whether it's emotional, whether it's with relationships, whether it's any of these areas, we always feel like there's a spot that's a little bit like out of reach that we want to get to. And so no matter what, there's space for growth there. And I love too that you're bringing in the coaches to be able to help you get there, right? And I love that, because we talk about in the coaching world, the coaches need coaches, right? I remember one time hearing from somebody, they were talking to Oprah, and they said, like who helps you, right? Type thing. And she had 5 different coaches that she worked with regularly. 5, not just one, she had 5, right? And so when we look at powerful people, and we look at people that are creating impact in the world, they're not doing it alone. They're leveraging. They are leveraging they're leveraging, right? So like consider. Yeah, right. And so it's kind of like, you know, sometimes we look at the person and we put them on the pedestal and we say, whoa, look at what they're doing. And we think they're doing this all alone and they're, you know, amazing. And oh yeah, they've got like maybe a team of people, but we don't consider like that they may also be having this impact coming in from a different source that is where they're like, this other person is better than me in this, or this person has these pieces that they can see my blind spots. Right? Mm-hmm. I can see a lot of people, I can help a lot of people, but I still will have my own blind spots, and I need somebody else to be able to come from a different viewpoint to see those blind spots and help me get to the next space. So I love that you live into what you preach, right? Like if you want to expand, get yourself a coach. Guess what? I have a coach, right? And so, you know, being able to take other people only as far as you've gone. And so if you want to reach the next thing, you do the next thing. So that's awesome. And two, you started to kind of answer my last question, which was what's next for you. So you have a new course that's coming out. You have people coming into it. You have one launching in May. So I guess my last question is where can the listeners find you if they are interested in learning more about what you do inside of your world?
Awesome. Yes. So you can learn about me and my coaching at mindyourintuition.com. And I have a guide that I give all my clients, and it's 11 steps to better health and more wealth. And it's everything. It's really inclusive of everything that I practice to maintain my business and also maintain my health and abundance and happiness. And so, yes, mindyourintuition.com. If you wanted to hop on a call with me, you could also go to mindyourintuition.com/apply. And those are the ways. And I also have a Facebook group called Fearless Entrepreneurs. And I go live there weekly doing different mindset strategies for everyone, and also online business strategies, just asking what people want to know about and learn about and hear about. So that's Fearless Entrepreneurs that you can find in the Mind Your Intuition Facebook page.
Cool. So we'll make sure to add those links, you guys, into the podcast. And thank you so much again for being with us today, Meredith. I really appreciate the insights that you brought and the mindset shifts that you've taken on your journey that will help entrepreneurs listening to be able to consider as they start out on their journeys or as they continue as they go.
Yes, thank you so much for the opportunity and the intriguing questions. I always love to talk about this. So I can't wait to listen and follow along and engage with you along this journey.
Great. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.
I want to sincerely thank you and appreciate you today for showing up here on Flip the Switch. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss a training session in your mindset mastery, leveling up your business success. And be a good friend. Share this episode with a fellow business builder. I'll see you next week, same time, same place.